Hey guys, and welcome to this edition of Scruff's Garage. Today's project is going to be replacing the radiator in my C5 Corvette. Obviously I have the motor out while I'm doing the engine rebuild, and I decided this would be the right time to upgrade to a fully aluminum racing radiator while I had everything out a little bit easier to get to the radiator. So obviously I'm a little bit further along in the project than you would be if you were just starting out at home in the garage. But it's simple to catch up the speed, right? You'd have the upper and lower radiator hoses you'd need to remove. You would have already drained all the coolant out of the system, right? The drain petcock is down at the bottom, so make sure all the coolant's out. Then you got these two upper hoses right here. This one goes to the reservoir tank, and this one I believe went to the if you still have the coolant that goes through the throttle body, and also ties into the steam vents, the crossover between the cylinder heads. So you need to disconnect these. Then at this point we've got our fans in front of the radiator, well I guess behind the radiator, and then up front you've got your AC condenser. Both of these items sit into clips on the radiator itself. Okay, so you see the one clip there. So I've actually got the condenser already pulled out just a little bit. So it's a clip. So you would lift up on the condenser, lift up, and then pull it out. You can see it disengages from that clip there. Same thing on the back side. Hard to get a good angle on it, but right there, same clip, except this one's for the fans. So you lift up on the fans and then pull it back, and it disengages from that clip. There are also there are a couple of wiring harnesses that may be in the way, so you'll have to work through that as well. But that's our next step, and then we're working on getting the radiator out. Okay, I used a small pry bar on the clip over here to try to pry it open just a bit, and then pry it and pull it up on the fan shroud. Be careful with it. Obviously, the fan shroud is plastic. You don't want to damage that, but sometimes it needs a little motivation to move. Okay. So I've got all the clips undone. So there's, you really can't see very well. There's 4 clips on the front. Yeah, I don't know that you can see it, but there's a clip. Right, there's a clip. There's the clip up here. One up here. But there's 4 in the front, 4 in the back. Then as you lift this out, I can't see it, the lower radiator hose point is going to get in the way. Then obviously up here you've got the hard line that goes to the AC condenser. You got to work around this corner up here, and you don't have much room between the frame rails either. So I have the distinct advantage that I can stand in the engine bay, which may or may not help me. but I'm also doing it by myself. I'd suggest having a helper, which would normally make this a little bit easier. Whew. That's a lot of work. Okay, quick comparison. So this is the new radiator. This is a DeWitts radiator. This is probably the most basic version. So it's for the C5 Corvette, for a manual transmission without any of the auxiliary coolers. Obviously I'm running a standalone engine oil cooler, so I didn't need the built-in tanks for that. So that should give me the most optimal cooling, since I have standalone coolers for the motor oils. And then obviously it's a double pass radiator compared to the single row OE radiator, so you could see how much beefier this one is. So I should get a significant amount more cooling out of that one. Plus this one's older, and every time I move it, crap falls out of it. So anyway, we'll work on getting it installed and move on with the project. Okay, one other helpful tip that I should have called earlier, but you'll need to swipe this rubber bushing from the bottom of the old radiator. It'll probably come out with the old radiator, so pull it off the bottom, and then it fits around this locating peg on the bottom of the radiator, except it needs to go between the radiator and the support bracket. So I'm going to have to lift mine up a bit to get it in there. But make sure you do that, it'll save you a little hassle. Okay, and there it is. So the radiator is in. I've got all the clips for both the fans and fan shroud and the AC condenser. Got everything clipped into place. I got the rubber isolator that's at the passenger side at the bottom, the locating peg. I've got that isolator in there. So at this point, I'm at a stopping point until I get the motor back in, so that I can run my radiator hoses. But of course you would finish installing your coolant lines, upper and lower radiator hoses, and then also obviously I've got the hood off and the motor out, that sort of thing. But there's a shroud that goes over the top of this as well, and then of course the air bridge for your air filter that goes to the throttle body. All those sorts of things have to be put back on as well. So, but hopefully this gives you at least a general idea of what it takes to get the radiator itself in and out. It's not that hard, or at least it's not that complicated. Getting all the tabs to line up takes a little maneuvering. But other than that, it seems to fit pretty well. I'm looking forward to some improved cooling on the track. In August I was hitting about 230 degrees coolant temps, which isn't that bad, but the more horsepower I make, I'd like an added level of safety, so I think this would do it for me. So anyway, thanks for tuning in to Scruff's Garage. Look forward to seeing you next time.